Over the years, there have been more video features added to the Studio One application, particularly in version 6. There were some recent updates, so I figured I would go ahead and make an updated tutorial on working with video. So let's just go ahead and get started with this. Now, first and foremost, here's a list of the supported video file formats. This is important, but one thing to note is that the .mkv, the manual says that Studio One does not support this format, but it does show up in the list of supported files if you go to the song in the menu bar and select import files. Also, the menu states that some of these file formats are going to work differently whether you're on Mac or PC, so that's just something to keep in mind. Now for this video, we're going to come over to the browser here, and I'm going to come to the file section, and let's just expand out the desktop here. And I've got a video prepared, so I'm just going to click, hold, and drag that from the browser. And if you take notice here, we have that vertical blue line, and that is snapping right now because our snap is turned on. I'll go back to the browser so we can see our snap is engaged, and we're set to eighth notes. If I set this to quarter, I'll go ahead and bring this in, and we're now snapping to quarter. So if you don't want that, you can turn your snap on and off. Also, notice that if I hold Alt, this pop-up window that says Import Video is going to be changed to Replace Video. So if you'd like to replace a currently loaded video, you can hold down Alt. Also, if I hold Control, then you see this changes to Extract Audio to New Track. So this is going to extract the audio to your song, but leave the video out. But we're going to go ahead and import the whole video, so I'll take this to the beginning of bar 1 and release with my left mouse. We now have a video track that's been created, and we can continue to add as many video clips to our track as we'd like. And we also have a video player that's been made visible, and we can show or hide the player by clicking on the video player icon in the toolbar. We can find that here, so we can just toggle whether that's visible or not by clicking on the button here. We can also click on the X, of course, to close this window out. Now, a few things to know about the video player is that we can change its size by click, hold, and dragging in the bottom right-hand corner. And we also have some presets by clicking on the wrench icon here. So we can choose small, normal, etc. from the menu here. We can also choose whether we're going to see a time display. So this is off by default, actually. So this is what you're going to see if you haven't made the decision to show the time display. So clicking on the wrench, we can then see that. And now we have this drop-down menu where we can choose whether we're going to see seconds, samples, bars, or frames. And speaking of frames, let's close this video player out for a second and come to our ruler at the top. By default, this is going to show bars and beats, but we can show a secondary ruler. So if I right-click here, we can see Open Secondary Ruler, and we can choose to show frames here as well. We also have the option to choose seconds, samples, and so on. Now, while we're on the topic of frames, it's important to mention that we have the ability to set the frame rate for our song. So if we come to the transport bar and click on the sample rate here, we're taken to the song setup menu, and then here we have our frame rate here. So we can click to open up the drop-down menu and make a selection here manually. We also have a button that we can click to automatically grab the frame rate from our imported video. So I'll go ahead and click on this, and we can see that this is now updated to 29 or 30 frames per second. We'll go ahead and click Apply and OK. Now let's close out our browser for the time being and come back to our video player because there's a couple other things that I wanted to mention here. We've got a couple of different transport controls here for stop and play, and we also have a mute button that we can make use of here. And if we'd like to scrub through our video, we can click in this bar here. Double clicking on the stop button will take us back to the beginning. Now let's close our video player and take a look at our video track here. Now we can show and hide our video track by clicking on our global visibility button here. So we can see that that's checked. If I deselect, then that is now hidden, but we'll go ahead and bring that back. We can also resize the video track by hovering at the border here. I'll click, hold, and drag down. And if we have an audio track that's embedded with our video file, we can create an audio track from that contained audio by clicking on this audio waveform here. So I'll go ahead and click on that. We're then presented with a dialog. Do you want to create an audio track for the sound from the video? Yes, I do. Now, once the audio track has been created, we can click on the folder icon here to show and hide that audio track. We then have a second button here that's going to determine whether edits that we perform to either the audio or the video are going to affect both or just one. So by default, this is going to be set to edit both. So if I were to hold down Control on my QWERTY keyboard, I'll then temporarily access the split tool. So then as I cut on the video, we can see that those cuts are made to our audio. And likewise, if I perform a cut to the audio, that's also affecting our video. Let's go ahead and undo those cuts. So now if I go ahead and click on this button, we can see that that icon is changing a bit. So I'll again hold Control and make a cut on top of our video track. And here I'll make a cut for our audio. So we can see with this setting, the cuts or our editing actions are going to be done discreetly for our audio and video. Let's again undo. Now, when working with editing our audio or video, we have the option to make use of our ripple edit. So I'm going to go ahead and engage that by clicking on this button here. And let's again activate our split tool. I'll cut the video and then I'll release the control. We now have the arrow, and I'm going to, let's actually zoom out a bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, and a little bit more actually, so we can see the end of this. So here at the cut that I made, I'm going to perform a trim to our video. And if you take notice, to the end of our video track, that's automatically going to be pulled forward. So if I hold Control and make another cut here, and then I'll perform a trim here, then that is pulled in. Now, if I come to the audio, I'll hold Control. Let's make a cut here. I'll then trim our audio, and that's pulled forward. So this is the ripple edit feature, and again, we can activate that by clicking on this button here. I'll go ahead and turn that off and then undo those changes. Now I'm going to come to our audio track and hover at the border here just to expand this out a little bit. And then also I'm going to press 2 to select our range tool, just to show that if I click, hold, and drag to select a range here, I can then press delete or backspace to remove that out from our video track. Let's undo. I can also, let's click, hold, and drag up in the ruler. While this is highlighted with the range tool, I can Control X. Let's come out here and position our playhead cursor and then Control V. So I can also paste that range selection here. And if we have other video clips, we can also place those within our video track in any empty areas. And of course, if we press 1 to activate the arrow tool, we can perform some trims here. And we can also perform trims for the piece that we cut out as well. Let's undo. Now, if we'd like to add any effects or even event effects to our audio, we can simply select it and press I to open up our inspector. And then let's go ahead and play this back as it is. Okay, so I could come with the audio track selected, and let's click on the plus, and I'll just add a room reverb to choose something randomly here. And now that that's been added to our audio track, okay, we can clearly hear that. If we'd like to remove that effect, then we can come to the drop-down arrow here. Just by clicking, we'll hide the window, but that effect is still going to remain on our audio track. If we'd like to remove it, we can actually power it off, or we can click on the down arrow and then choose Remove. Now, if I were to hold Control to activate my split tool and make a cut here just to this very specific portion, we can actually add an effect to this audio event. And I just want to quickly mention that the reason why I'm going to the split tool when I hold Control is because I have this blue underline here. So whatever you have that set to, we can repeatedly press 1 on the QWERTY keyboard and change what our alternate tool is going to be. I have mine set up for the split tool. But now that I've split this audio event, I can right-click on it and then come to the Event Effects and then choose Add Effect. We can then choose from any of our native effects that come with Studio One or third-party effects. I'll just leave this on the default of analog delay. Let's click on OK. That's been added. We'll take this up pretty high just to make it obvious, and we'll come just before this audio event that I newly created. Okay, and we'll take this up even more. Okay, so you can hear that analog delay. We'll go ahead and remove this, and let's undo those cuts. Now let's close out our video player and we'll close out the inspector as well. We'll come back to the track column and select our video header. Now let's go ahead and resync these so that edits are going to be performed on both. We've already seen that we can click on the folder to hide that audio track that we created. Now, if I right-click here in the track column, we can see we have some other options here. So we can lock our track. We can show and hide our audio tracks. That's the same as clicking on the folder. We can link audio track for editing. Again, that's the same as the button here. We can update our audio track, and we can remove audio playback track here. So you have a few other options there. And also, while our video track is selected, if I click on I to access our inspector, we can see we have some options here. So show thumbnails. If I deselect, then our thumbnails are going to disappear from our video track. We can show our frame numbers, so we can see at the bottom of our video clip the frame numbers. If I deselect, those are removed. We can show our audio track the same as this one, and we can link audio track editing the same as this button as we've already seen. We then have an action drop-down menu, so we can update our audio track and remove audio playback track, same as what we saw by right-clicking here. We'll go ahead and hide the inspector. Now, just quickly, as far as the specific editing actions that we can perform on our video, I'll go ahead and put up a list here. This is directly from the manual, so just in case you're curious as to the capabilities of editing within Studio One for video, these are the specific ones that are available. Again, this is directly from the menu. And also, as a quick side note, if you'd like to see the metadata for your video files, such as resolution and the codec that is used, we can right-click on our video track. And sometimes this is a little bit funky, so I'll select the audio and then select here. And now we can see the resolution, the frame rate, and so on here. Now, we can also come to our browser, and while our video track that we brought in is selected, in our information panel at the bottom, we can see that same information here before we even bring the video file into our song. Let's close out that browser. Now, just a couple other quick things. We have the option to set bar or time offsets. So we will zoom out just a bit here, and let's just say we'll come to bar 17. And I'm going to press Shift and F so we can see our menu at the very top here. So we're at bar 17, and if we'd like to create a bar offset, then we can just come to the song, and then towards the bottom here we have set bar offset to cursor. So now once we do that, we can see that bar 1 is beginning here. If I press the comma to come back to the beginning, we'll come back again to song. Let's set bar offset to cursor. Now we're back to normal. I'll come out again in the ruler, then to song, and we can set time offset to cursor. And let's right-click on our secondary ruler and change that to seconds. Okay, and now we can see that we're beginning on 0 here. and we can see that offset. I'll again press the comma to take the playhead back to the beginning. Let's come to song, and we will set time offset to cursor, and now we're back to normal. Now we can also come to, if we have various video clips, we can set the playhead cursor to a different clip anytime we'd like to set our rate. So again, I'll come to song. We can choose set frames at cursor, and we can set the frame rate by coming here, and we can choose from video, or we can come to the drop-down menu and make a selection. Let's go ahead and cancel out of here though. And so now at this point, this video already has audio. We've already heard that. But if you're doing some scoring and you need to record your live instruments or a virtual instruments, you can definitely do that. That's kind of the whole point of all of this. So let's actually mute the audio that we extracted from the video. And what I'm going to do is let's actually make the video track a little bit smaller, as well as our audio. We'll come to the browser. Let's access our Instruments tab. I'll bring in a Mai Tai. We'll close this out. Let's choose a pad, maybe the mountain pad here. Okay, and I'm going to press caps lock to bring up my virtual QWERTY keyboard. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and trigger. Okay, and I'm actually going to close out the instrument because we don't really need that. So I'll click here to open up our video player, and so we will go ahead. Let's come a bit further in the video. So our track is armed for recording and monitoring. I'll enter into record here. Okay, so you get the idea. We'll close out well, maybe we'll leave that open. I'll press caps lock to get rid of that virtual QWERTY keyboard. Now when we play back, we can hear our Mai Tai. Okay, so then you can go ahead and continue on layering your instruments, doing your multi-tracking just as you would any other regular song, and you can do that along with the video here. Now, if you had a second monitor, you can always take that to your second monitor, and we have a full screen mode that you can make use of. We'll go ahead and close that out. And let's just close the player entirely. Let's zoom out a little bit, and we'll come up to the top here, and as I hover, our arrow is going to change to this pencil. Let's set our loop region to encompass our audio and video. And then we'll come to song, and let's take a look at our export options for video. So let's choose export video. And then we can see here we have the location. So then we can click on the ellipsis and choose a specific location. I'll select the desktop, select that folder. We can then give this file a name. We can then choose the video format. So this is going to be MPEG-4. This is set to use source codecs by default, but if we'd like, we can deselect and then make some other selections here. Okay, now also I set the loop region to the region that I'd like to export, so I would want to go ahead and be sure that I select that. Otherwise, this is going to be on video, so whatever the length of your video is, it's going to export that region. And then at this point, we can click on OK, and that's going to export our video down. But we'll go ahead and cancel out. Okay, so this has been a look at working with video in Studio One 6.6. I hope it's been helpful. If you're someone who is just getting started with Studio One, or you're having technical issues, or you'd like to speed up your learning curve, I do offer one-on-one training via Zoom, so check out the description of this video or the pinned comment below for more information on that. And otherwise, I hope to see you in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching.